Mayweather. I wanted to punch Floyd in his face so bad. If he gave me an opportunity tomorrow, I'd do it. Okay? How can I say no?
For years, Floyd Mayweather carved out a perfect 50-0 legacy, a monument to defensive genius and ring IQ. But in the shadows of that legacy is the story of Keith "one-time" Thurman. There's a breaking point for every fighter, a moment when frustration turns into fury. For Thurman, this was more than a fight. It was an explosive accusation, and he was about to expose the truth that Mayweather was actively running from the one man he knew was a real threat. Even today, years after his final professional bell, the Mayweather effect is undeniable. Legendary names from Manny Pacquiao to Roy Jones Jr. have entertained the idea of sharing a ring with him again.
You want to fight? Come on. Man, I ain't tripping. You ain't got to troll me. Come see me. That's who I am. I don't do talk well.
You think there's a possibility, Roy? Like, we might get this exhibition?
Ain't gonna be no exhibition. I want a real. Ain't no sense being an exhibition. What we gonna play for? We both fight for real. What we playing for? Wasn't no exhibition. We didn't make it real. Exhibition for people playing. We ain't playing.
It happened that way. It happened to me many times.
Did you want a rematch with Floyd?
I'm still active. It's up to him if he's going to fight.
You would even fight him today?
Even here.
Oh my goodness.
Even here.
A fight with Floyd isn't just a fight, it's a cultural event, a lottery ticket known as the Mayweather Payday. An entire generation of fighters has lined up, hoping to be chosen for that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But being chosen was the key.
And Mayweather's used to that, you know? It looked like Mayweather was trying to scuff up the Roy Jones Jr. They were beefing online for a little bit, right? Because Roy doesn't get Floyd no credit. He says he's not the greatest ever. He might be one of the richest ever, outside of Canelo Alvarez's new contract, $400 million. But, you know, Floyd might be one of the richest ever, and one of the best of maybe his generation. But, you know, not everybody is sold on TBE. Not everybody is sold on the best ever. And that's the way that Floyd has always perceived himself, with great respect.
And that's where the story of Keith "one-time" Thurman begins. Because while many were asking for a payday, Thurman was demanding a legacy fight, and he is now remembered as perhaps the ultimate what-if of Mayweather's career. He stands as the prime example of a fighter who was allegedly denied his shot, a casualty of Floyd's infamous pick-and-choose strategy. At the peak of his powers, Thurman was an undefeated power-punching champion, the most dangerous puzzle in the division. And according to him, that's precisely why the puzzle was never solved.
Mayweather. I wanted to punch Floyd in his face so bad. If he gave me an opportunity tomorrow, I'd do it. Okay? How can I say no? I always wanted to punch that man in the face. You know? That's actually why I never shook his hand. Never shook his hand, because my satisfaction isn't in meeting you. It's in, you know, having the fight. And after the fight, we can shake hands. After the fight, I can give Floyd all the respect. I never got the fight, never gave him any real respect. You know what I mean? I actually do respect Floyd, but face to face, I could never give him respect because he never put respect on me.
Did he ever ask you, hey Keith, why you talk to me? Why you don't? Did Floyd ever approach you and ask?
Nah, we just was in the lobby one time at the Intercontinental here, and he actually walked up to me, and you know, he was cordial. He was cool and everything, but then we was just getting to talking, and it just, you know, it is what it is. You know, he had like some.
The welterweight division in the early 2000s was Floyd Mayweather's kingdom. He was the undisputed pay-per-view king, the final boss that every ambitious fighter dreamed of facing. But while Mayweather was collecting 9-figure paychecks against established names, a storm was brewing in Florida. That storm had a name: Keith Thurman.
You know, I've titled myself a knockout artist ever since I was 14 years old, and I was knocking out grown men with 16-ounce gloves and headgears, you know. So I tell people, ever since then, I've been dropping people like a bad habit, you know. I love being a power puncher. My first favorite fighter of all time was Mike Tyson. It was my goal to have more knockouts than Mike Tyson in my professional career, you know. It's just, you know, just little goals, yeah, as a kid growing up. So I started off holding it down with 8 consecutive first-round KOs and TKOs here at the a la carte pavilion took me 8 knockouts before I chose to give myself a nickname. And it was because all of those knockouts occurred in the first round, and because of the devastating power, and because of the story that my father once told me, that I chose to take upon the name Keith One Time Thurman.
Nicknamed One Time for his devastating one-punch knockout power, Thurman was a terrifying blend of raw strength, speed, and genuine boxing skill. He wasn't just winning, he was demolishing his opponents, climbing the ranks with a hunger that was impossible to ignore.
There may be some things y'all don't agree with that I say. I assure you, up until, and y'all know Keith got gas issues, but until that gas tank start to run on E, he's a good fight against anybody.
Come on,
You
man.
don't want to hear it.
No. If you think about Keith was the guy, man.
Yeah.
Keith just ain't fighting. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think just the rust and everything's catching up with Keith.
Yeah.
Hey, supposedly we might get Keith this year.
Before the end of the year.
Is you heard that's confirmed?
I mean, I talk to my boy every now and then.
Okay, shout out to Keith Thurman.
By 2014, with an unblemished record, Thurman wasn't just a contender anymore, he was a problem. He saw Mayweather not as an idol to be worshipped, but as a target to be conquered. And unlike so many others who waited for a golden ticket, Thurman decided he would be the one who was going to destroy that undefeated record. What happened next would send shockwaves through the sport. Keith Thurman didn't just want the fight, he demanded it. In a series of fiery interviews throughout 2014 and 2015, he laid down the gauntlet with a level of confidence that bordered on disrespect.
That's right, baby. You know, Floyd is supposed to be TBE, and I want to fight the best. I want to fight the man. You know, it ain't like Floyd's gonna knock me out. When has Floyd knocked anybody out in the past several years? Huh? So if anybody should be scared, it should be him. If anything I'm gonna get a great learning experience in my career. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to destroying Mr. Floyd Money Mayweather. I have a motto. This is my personal motto. It's called burn money. Burn money. 2015, we getting ready to burn money.
While others spoke of Mayweather in hushed, reverent tones, Thurman spoke to him directly through the cameras. "Do you want to fight?" he challenged. "Be honest with me. If you're gonna leave me alone, just let me know you're gonna leave me alone."
You know, I'm a young, strong champion, Floyd. Come get it. I'm undefeated like you, baby. Come take my O, baby. Come take my O. I'm ready. I'm ready. We'll go back to camp right now. We'll go right back to camp, baby. You see my six-pack? I'm gonna go run laps tomorrow. It is what it is, man. Outside of Floyd, there's a lot of great champions in the welterweight division, and they know who to call. His name is Al Haymon. Call Al Haymon, baby. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to other opportunities. I beat this fighter, I can beat any fighter.
He wasn't asking for a payday, he was demanding a fight for supremacy. The tension reached a fever pitch when Thurman declared, "If anybody should be scared, it's him." The boxing world was captivated. Here was an undefeated, power-punching champion in his prime, publicly accusing the pound-for-pound king of running scared. Thurman even criticized Mayweather's choice of opponents like Andre Berto, framing them as safe, calculated moves to avoid a real challenge. But these public callouts were only the visible part of the story. This is where the story takes an unexpected turn into the world of boxing politics. As Thurman continued his relentless pursuit, he detailed a stunning sequence of events that laid his claim of being ducked bare for all to see.
To get the fight, and then they politically took the position away from me by elevating him up to the super champion, which made it so that he was no longer obligated to any mandatories. And now I'm currently the WBA super champion of the world. So, you know, to me, the real purpose of holding the super champion, once when I studied the industry and understood politically what this belt and what that belt means, to me, the real purpose of having the super champ is to do things like this and have a unification bout. Because when a fighter has 2 belts, he's supposed to have 2 mandatories. Now that means that you don't really get to pick the fight that you want anymore, because now you're getting this mandatory thrown upon you from this federation, and you got this mandatory thrown on you from another federation, and then it's less for you to do what you want to do for your career. So by the WBA creating that super title, that allowed Floyd to really only focus on one mandatory, which was the WBC, if he wants to take it or not, and it gave him way more room to to move his career the way that he wanted to move it. And because he was able to do that, one thing that he was not presented with, one thing that nobody had to get in his face and ask him about was, how do you feel about Keith one-time Thurman, who is your #1 mandatory challenger in the WBA? You know, as soon as he fought Maidana and got that title, I'm the mandatory. He schedules a rematch, so there's no point in talking about it. He wins again. Now, the question is, how do you feel about your mandatory?
He explained that after becoming the mandatory challenger, he was in line for a shot at the WBA welterweight title. But a strange thing happened. Instead of getting his shot at the champion, Floyd Mayweather, the WBA elevated Floyd to the status of super champion. Thurman was then promoted to regular champion.
And that's when Floyd Mayweather ends up fighting Marcos Maidana. To a very close fight. Maidana fought a tough fight. He fought a tough fight. I don't even know how it got to be like that, because I saw him get outboxed easily by Devin Alexander at his first fight at 147. But somehow, some way, maybe Floyd just underestimated the wild bull of a man that Maidana was at the time. And so, the fight was so entertaining. Floyd did a rematch. That time, he clearly outboxed Maidana. He didn't lay on the ropes. He didn't let so many big overhand rights come in. And it was a clear showing that Floyd got the second fight. That was only 2 of his rematches throughout his whole career, 50-0. 2 rematches. So now, where is Floyd? He is the reigning welterweight WBA champion of the world. Where was I? I was taking fights and I was maintaining position as the #1 contender. And there was a phone call. There's a phone call I never got. And it was to fight Floyd. Somehow, never got the phone call. He said, "Hey Keith, how are you doing today?" I said, "I'm good, my man. What would you like to talk about?" He says, "Can you please tell me, how does it feel to be the WBA welterweight champion of the world? For you have been elevated." I said, "Elevated? What do you mean?" He said, "You're the champion of the world. I learned this on a phone call."
To the casual fan, it sounded like just another belt. But as Thurman exposed, it was a political masterstroke.
Were you mandated to fight Floyd?
Man, they created the WBA super title. They gave it to Floyd so that he wouldn't have to fight me. Now Mendoza is saying whoever is the super champ has to fight the regular champ. That wasn't the case when Keith Thurman was the champ.
So they just did. So they simply didn't even mandate that fight.
Know your history, man. Floyd Mayweather politically ducked me. 100. It was the most BS political move in the world. I get a phone call, "Hey Keith, instead of being the interim champ, you're elevated to the regular champ." So yes, I was his mandatory. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Did it ever get mandated? No. Why did it not get mandated? Because he had 2 fights with Maidana. Then they elevated him to super champ. They gave me the regular champion, and they didn't let the regular champ touch the super champ in that generation.
Buried deep within the WBA's official rules was a shocking loophole. A super champion is not obligated to fight their mandatory challengers. In an instant, Mayweather was shielded.
So by the WBA creating that super title, that allowed Floyd to really only focus on one mandatory, which was the WBC, if he wants to take it or not, and it gave him way more room to move his career the way that he wanted to move it. And because he was able to do that, one thing that he was not presented with, one thing that nobody had to get in his face and ask him about was, how do you feel about Keith one-time Thurman, who is your #1 mandatory challenger in the WBA? You know, as soon as he fought Maidana and got that title, I'm the mandatory. He schedules a rematch, so there's no point in talking about it. He wins again. Now, the question is, how do you feel about your mandatory?
He had a legitimate, rule-based excuse to never step in the ring with the most dangerous opponent in his division. Thurman learned he was a world champion not through a glorious victory, but through a phone call from a reporter. A bizarre moment that confirmed his worst fears. He wasn't being given a title. He was being given a consolation prize to keep him quiet and keep him away from the king.
I learned that I'm champion of the world thanks to a phone call. I said, well, so what happened to the real champion of the world? No, Floyd's not champion of the world. He is the super champion. I said, does it come with a cape? What the hell is a super champ? But Thurman, you're the regular champion of the world. What's regular about being champion?
But who could orchestrate such a perfect political escape? The answer lies with one of the most mysterious and powerful figures in boxing, Al Haymon.
What is your relationship with Al Haymon, and how important is Al Haymon right now in boxing?
Me and Al Haymon work hand in hand. Great guy, you know what I mean? That's Leonard partner. But Al Haymon is a great guy, tremendous guy. One thing about it I can say, Al Haymon is the man of his word. Whatever he says he's gonna do, he's gonna do. No different from if I say.
Haymon was the advisor to a massive stable of elite fighters, including both Floyd Mayweather and Keith Thurman. He was the puppet master behind the scenes, a man known for maximizing his fighters' earnings while minimizing their risk.
The most powerful man in boxing is also unseen, and you've probably never heard him speak.
Al Haymon.
Al Haymon.
Get Al Haymon. Absolutely. Al Haymon check.
So what makes Al Haymon so important and untouchable? Even the New York Times tried to answer these questions and failed. Here's what we know. He's Harvard educated, very successful in live concert promotion, television production, and boxing. He has a long list of celebrity clients. A brother Bobby who fought Sugar Ray Leonard. No office, no answering machine, no photos, no interviews. Where Haymon goes, the money goes. In boxing, when you're talking about Floyd, you're indirectly talking about Al Haymon, his business partner.
With Haymon managing both the established cash cow and the rising threat, a massive conflict of interest emerged. Why would he risk his billion-dollar asset, Mayweather, against a young lion like Thurman, who had everything to gain and nothing to lose? A loss for Mayweather would shatter the perfect 50-0 narrative that was being carefully crafted for his retirement tour. A loss for Thurman, on the other hand, could derail a future star's marketability. From a purely business standpoint, the fight made no sense for Haymon. It was far more profitable to keep them apart, letting Mayweather sail into the sunset with his perfect record intact while building Thurman up separately. Thurman wasn't just fighting Floyd Mayweather's legacy, he was fighting an entire business model designed to protect it.
So real quick, what's PBC fighters and Floyd Mayweather gonna do? Because PBC don't have the money to put on fights, which means they're not drawing income. What they gonna do? Keith Thurman, what you gonna do on that back end? That back end gone, man. Fred, why you in celebratory mode? Because I told them not to get gas at that gas station that they robbed people. I told them not to eat at that food place. It was terrible. I told them that I forewarned the people, man. I was Frederick Revere. You know, they're coming. I was on my horse, man, and y'all said me and my horse was crazy, man. You know what I mean? But y'all go ahead and enjoy. I wonder what Floyd gonna do. Floyd, what you gonna do, man, with the Al Haymon money? Drake said Al Haymon checks good. Are they, Floyd? Peace.
The moment Thurman started speaking out, the controversy exploded. Fans were sharply divided. On one hand, Mayweather's supporters called Thurman bitter, arguing that Floyd had earned the right to pick his opponents and that Thurman hadn't built a big enough name to deserve the fight. They saw it as business as usual. But on the other side, a growing number of fans and critics saw the situation for what it was, a clear duck. Thurman's detailed explanation of the WBA's super champion loophole gave his claims undeniable credibility.
I had to look up what a super champ was. And in the fine print, right in the paragraph, you could read that super champions are not obligated to fight mandatories. Is it ducking? This is what we call politics, people.
He wasn't just another fighter, he was presenting a logical, evidence-based case of political avoidance. His voice gave legitimacy to the long-held suspicion that Mayweather's later career was a carefully curated tour of low-risk, high-reward fights.
Mayweather just did such a smart thing, but also a devious thing. Waiting until Pacquiao was older, waiting until he slowed down, and then...
Devious is not illegal in boxing.
It's encouraged.
Devious can be an asset.
That's how you retire with a 50-0
I give
record.
Floyd credit for brilliance.
It would have been an interesting fight had he fought Pacquiao when he was younger, in his prime. It would have been a very different
Would have been
fight.
a more interesting fight.
Much more different.
Because
Much more difficult
any go-forward physical warrior like Pacquiao is going to wear down.
Exactly.
And any brilliant counterpuncher like Floyd is going to retain more.
Also the fact that Pacquiao fought him with a bum shoulder.
Money talks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess he was faced with this thing, legacy, or, I mean, it was the biggest pay-per-view of all time in boxing. I think it was like 4 million buys or something crazy like that.
It was huge.
Yeah, give him a cortisone shot, throw him out there, unfortunately.
While the dream of fighting Mayweather faded into a political nightmare, Keith Thurman's career had to move forward. He didn't let disappointment define him. Instead, he went on to prove he was a true champion, unifying the welterweight division by defeating Danny Garcia and cementing his place at the top. But the ultimate test of his willingness to face legends was yet to come. In 2019, Thurman finally got his mega fight, not against Mayweather, but against another icon, Manny Pacquiao.
You know, I never got the Floyd Mayweather fight. So, you know, the Pacquiao fight just was the next level for me, and I just couldn't say no. I had some issues that year that I wasn't happy about with my body, but I was fighting through it with my left hand, because after the Pacquiao fight, I needed surgery. I needed surgery after the Jose Cito Lopez fight. My doctor was at the fight in Brooklyn, New York. He lives in California, and he was at the fight. So he's backstage with me. He goes, "Hey, Keith," he's like, "You ready for the surgery?" And I said, "Hey, Doc, I think they're gonna give me something special because Adrian Broner just fought Manny Pacquiao."
Yeah.
And so we knew that Pacquiao was on the PBC side now. And so, you know, sometimes we can foretell things a little bit in boxing. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And I just kind of knew what was going to be in the works. And they kind of told me, like, hardcore, like, "Yo, Keith, if you want it, it's yours. If you don't want it, we're going to give Pac to Danny. You know,
Oh, wow.
we're gonna go off for Danny Pacquiao."
Wow.
And I couldn't say no.
In a thrilling back-and-forth war, Thurman showed immense heart and skill, but ultimately suffered his first professional defeat. The irony was palpable. The man who accused Mayweather of ducking him had willingly stepped into the fire against a fellow legend, proving he was willing to risk his undefeated record for a chance at greatness. The fight with Pacquiao, though a loss, in many ways validated Thurman's earlier claims. It showed he was a fighter in the truest sense, one who sought out the greatest challenges, win or lose, a stark contrast to the narrative he had painted of Mayweather.
Compared Pacquiao's career and Mayweather's career, which career do you think outshines one or the other?
Pacquiao, he lived the Muhammad Ali life, you know, where you win some, you lose some, and you win again. Floyd, he did a little bit more of a pretty boy aspect, a little bit more in controlled settings. Didn't always fight the toughest fight of the career at that time. When it comes to athleticism, you know, and I'm probably about 100% right when I say nobody will ever do what Pacquiao did ever again. He made a type of history that will most likely never be repeated, man. So when it comes to the both of them, it just is, do you admire all the world titles, or do you admire the simple aspect of just being one of the best to ever dance around the ring?
Years later, the specter of what could have been a fight between a prime Keith Thurman and Floyd Mayweather remains one of boxing's greatest what-ifs. Was Thurman's explosive power and awkward timing the kryptonite to Mayweather's flawless defense? Would he have been the one to finally crack the May Vinci Code and put a 1 in the loss column of the 50-0 record? We will never know for sure. Mayweather retired a legend, his perfect record preserved, while Thurman became a champion defined as much by the fights he had as by the one he was denied. But Thurman's fiery callouts left an indelible mark, exposing the often unseen political machinery that runs the sport of boxing. He revealed that sometimes the toughest fights aren't the ones that happen inside the ring, but the ones that are prevented from ever happening at all. And in the end, you're left to wonder, who was truly the undefeated one? The man with the perfect record, or the man who was never given the chance to lose? So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.